I'm Rob Rucci, pastor at Upcountry Church in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. Pastor Resources asked me if I would share my story and a little bit of a story that's impacted my life and ministry significantly. And so I've been in pastoral ministry in one form or another for about the past 20 years. And really the first 16 of that was as a staff pastor or associate pastor at different churches over that time. And that period of time, at least in my experience, was when a lot of churches were introducing contemporary music into their services. And I was a youth minister and a music minister at those churches during that period of time. So yeah, I was hired to introduce contemporary worship into some otherwise sort of traditional programs at churches. And anytime I think you introduce change into a church, there's usually controversy, and that was certainly the case for me over those years. And a lot of that controversy, of course, was directed at me because I was the one bringing about the change in those churches. And I realized when I signed up to do that job that was part of it, and that would go along with it, that it wasn't always easy to change things in churches, particularly ones that have been well established. But what I don't think I realized was what it was doing to me personally. I was becoming embittered toward the church over those years, and actually I think I developed quite an unhealthy disdain for the church and church people. And so it all came to a head one day. I had a particularly tough go of it with some folks in the church who were unhappy about what I was doing. And I remember feeling very fed up and very angry. And so I stormed down through the office complex into the senior pastor's office. And I remember opening my mouth and just spewing all of this sort of anger, and it was boiling over. And I remember saying to him, "We need to talk about these people." And he said, "What people?" And I said, "Those people who are complaining about the music." And I went on and on and on for several minutes about those people. And I remember telling him that I thought those people were poison in the church, that I was tired of those people coming against the staff, and I wanted to know when he was going to do something about those people. And if he wasn't willing to, then I would do something about those people. And then I started talking about my job as a pastor there, and that he had hired me to do a job and to introduce this new music. And I was going on and on about those people and my job. And about the time I finished with my tantrum, which is what it really was, he said to me, "Are you finished?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess so." And he said, "I hired you as a pastor at this church, and your job as a pastor is to lay your life down for those people." And I remember that hitting me right in the chest, and sort of dropping my head and walking out of his office, because that's not the answer I was looking for. I wanted him to take up for me and take my side. I wanted the two of us to go to battle with these people, and quite frankly, I wanted to kick them all out of the church because I'd had it. And so I went back and spent the rest of the day thinking about about what he said. And a lot of time thinking turned into a lot of time in prayer. And that time in prayer turned into a lot of time in repentance. And the Lord began to reveal to me just how broken and dysfunctional I'd become, how angry I'd become toward His church, that I was bitter and had quite a bit of disdain. And so through a lot of repentance and a lot of prayer for those people, I began to develop a love for the church that I had at the first, that I hadn't had for a long time. And to be honest, it changed the course of my life and my ministry. I ended up going to seminary in England. And when I finished there, I moved back here to South Carolina and planted this church with my wife and family and some other people. And it's been a completely different experience, because instead of trying to fix the church. I'm simply trying to love the church, and there's still problems. There will always be problems when you get a room full of people together. Everything isn't perfect. Sometimes there needs to be discipline in the church and correction. None of that changes, but I'm coming from a different place now. Rather than trying to fix the church into the image that I think it should be, I'm just loving the church, hopefully into the image of Christ. And so through that place of compassion and love, where there was so much dysfunction